Right, just a quick video, an update on my oven. I've had a lot of interest in this oven. I'm quite surprised really, but to be honest, it's a cracking bit of kit. It works perfectly, and I just want to give you a little bit of an update and maybe answer a few questions that people have been asking in a video rather than sending messages backwards and forwards. So basically, it's as it was before. As you can see, it's absolutely filthy. The reason being, I coat the parts on the rack and then push the rack in, close the doors and coat the parts. So obviously all the dust and everything sticks to the side of the oven and gets baked on there. What you're supposed to do really is coat the parts outside the oven and then transfer them into the oven. To be honest with you, I only do one set of parts, and I clean the oven probably once every 6 months, and I think that's, you know, pretty much adequate. I don't need to go mad on it. I get a perfect finish every single time. So there's nothing, it's a case of don't fix what's not broken really. People were saying, one thing people asking, you know, we get bombarded with fumes. There is fumes comes out of this oven as well. They're not terrible, but I find the best way to do it is plenty of ventilation and something like that, which is just a standard fume extractor. Just as soon as you run the oven, whack that on there and the fumes will disappear. The fumes I think are pretty harmless, but you know, obviously if you're going to get them built up in there, they're not going to do you any good, and they certainly don't smell very nice either. So yeah, just a simple 100 quid fan on the top there. Just takes any hot air out the top, because obviously all the fumes rise, and it keeps the room pretty clean and clear. So yeah, you don't even notice it. So that's, I don't think there's any way really of avoiding the fumes, because unless you know, had an airtight seal on the oven, but it gets so hot around the seal that I think that's pretty much impossible. So anyway, everything seems to be working right. Even the rack's working right. That's going in and out perfectly still after, well, it's been going now for about, I think about 18 months, and it's never missed a beat. I've had a thermocouple go failed on the burner, which was about 20 quid. Changed that, and it's been perfect ever since. Right, on the side here, basically it's such a simple setup. You've got a thermocouple goes in here, right in the middle of the oven, goes right through into the main part of the oven there, and I put it in the middle to try and get the best of both worlds. You've got the cold bottom, you got the hot top. So having this here gives you, it doesn't give you a perfect reading, but it's pretty good. I've found that when you're coating, you're supposed to coat it around about 180 degrees. I coat round about 170, and it makes the steel parts round about 180. So that's, it's a perfect reading at that point in the oven, but because the parts are quite high up, it's better to keep the figure low rather than, you know, overcook the parts. It's not so bad if you're doing flats or, you know, gloss, but if you're doing metallics, you'll find that if the temperature goes too high, it generally runs. Not so much runs as drips, it just goes clear. Just makes the colours tend to fade significantly. So best keep use your temperature gun, and then just check your parts. So around about 170, 180 for, they say 10 minutes. What I generally do is get it to 170 on the thermocouple, switch it off, and leave the oven just to cool down for 10 minutes. It only cools down by about 5-10 degrees. Leave it off for 10 minutes, open it, the parts are perfect. As far as the electrics go, like I say, you've got your thermocouple there. The thermocouple comes in to this PID controller here. It's a cheap eBay PID controller, super simple, and all the switching goes out to a solid state relay. Sorry, I've actually had one of these fail as well. I think the one that failed wasn't that good anyway. So you've got your solid state relay, which brings on the burner itself, which is down here. But that I changed the first one after a couple of weeks, put this one in, and we've had it fail since. So these are not big money. Don't go buying really expensive parts. There's no need. Could do with tidying that up a bit really, but it's a case of fit and forget. There's not many parts in there, so there's nothing really to worry about. Somebody else asked me as well, what are you doing about a pump, fuel pump? Well, there is no pump. there's no need for a pump, because there is a pump built into the actual boiler itself. Now, in order to get the fuel to the boiler, simple, it's gravity fed. Gravity fed through a filter into the pump. If you run out of fuel, the filter goes empty and the actual burner trips out. So all you do is fill it with fuel, watch the filter start to fill, reset the burner, and away you go. Super simple. So the actual burner I'm using there is an RDB. I think it's a 40, a Riello 40. I think it's 40, I'm not sure. But it's one of the like medium-sized burners. That's the burner that we put in to start with, and it has never missed a beat. Other than that thermocouple failing, I think that was down to myself and a friend of mine trying to run it on diesel. Big mistake, because the heat that came off this thing was just unbelievable. It was nuclear, and it actually started to break down the thermocouple. So eventually it did fail, but don't ever try to run this on diesel, red diesel. It just will not work. So kerosene is perfect. So basically all that happens, the process is just plugging that in now. The just powers up itself, tells you the current temperature, which is obviously 13 degrees. The set point underneath there is 180, and it'll just basically come on for a few seconds, prime, and then it'll fire. There you go. Anyway, once it hits temperature, it basically starts to regulate then, on, off, on, off, on, off, and it'll stay at the same temperature all day long or until it runs out of fuel. But that's it, that's as technical as it gets. There's nothing else changed on it. Like I say, as far as the fumes go, there's not a lot you can do other than decent extraction. This is super simple. It just needs a power supply and the PID controller and a thermocouple. And it's as simple as that. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing extra on there. There's nothing special on there. It's a simple 8 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot oven, and it works perfect. Well, anyway, I hope that's answered your questions. If you like it, you know, if you like the stuff I've been putting up there, please subscribe. That'd be really good. I've started getting quite a few subscribers now. I've got a lot more stuff to show you in time to come. I'm actually in the process of converting my CNC machine at the moment from horizontal to vertical. Not an easy task, but I'll be putting something up about that in the next few weeks. Mechanically, I'm nearly finished on that, but I will show you how it's done. And my God, that's a 10 by 5 machine, that is, and it takes up 2.5 foot of the room now, rather than well, 10 foot by 5 foot. So there's a new panel made up there now. I'll go through all that as well. So if there's anybody interested in CNC, stay tuned, and that'll be my next video coming up. Right, thank you very much. Goodbye.